Welcome to the Pharma Podcast, conversations with industry experts and business leaders about important and current topics in pharma, biotech, and medtech. I'm your host, Sam Tarantino. On this episode of the Pharma Podcast, we're honoring Rare Disease Month this February by delving into the personal and profound stories from the front lines of rare diseases in Canada. Our focus is on the unique challenges, healthcare experiences, and the resilience required to navigate life with a rare condition. In celebration of this important month, I'm thrilled to have Dr. Sonia Rehal with us. Sonia is not only courageously living with a rare disease, but also actively participating in raising awareness and advocating for better support and research for rare diseases in Canada. Sonia's journey offers us a window into the day-to-day realities faced by individuals with rare diseases, from the quest for diagnosis to access to specialized care, and underscores the importance of community support. Her insights are invaluable in dispelling misconceptions about rare diseases and highlighting the ongoing efforts to improve the lives of those affected. Join us as we explore Sonia's story, the broader landscape of rare diseases in Canada, and what hope and advancements lie on the horizon for patients and their families. Through this episode, we hope to convey a powerful message. While each rare disease may affect a small number of individuals, collectively, these conditions are not that rare at all. Welcome to the Pharma Podcast, Sonia.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, why don't we begin by inviting you to tell us about yourself, your journey, and maybe share a little bit about your rare disease and that you're living with.
So my name is Sonia. I was classically trained as a research scientist, and I'm currently teaching biology. And I think from when I can remember, I've always been interested in biology, specifically because my whole life has been affected by a very rare disease that has always led to my fascination of biology and medical sciences. I was born with a very rare disease. This disease is called lipodystrophy. There's few different types of lipodystrophies. I happen to have one of the rare forms of what they call partial lipodystrophy. And it is genetic. It's autosomal dominant. My mom had it. My sister had it. And at the time of diagnosis, my sister and I were told that we were the only ones in Canada that had this disease. That was quite a while ago. That was about, I'd say, 20 years now. We now know that it's a little bit more frequent than that. However, it is still very rare, affecting about 1 to 200 to 500,000 people. And I mean, it's an understatement when I say that it's kind of like wreaked havoc in my life. Lipodystrophy is essentially, if you break it down, lipo stands for fat, and dystrophy is just the dysregulation of. And so I basically have dysregulated fat or absent fat. And the loss of fat, is what essentially causes all my metabolic problems. So you're talking diabetes, you're talking high blood pressure, you're talking about fatty liver, you're talking about cardiac disorders such as congestive heart failure, cardiac abnormalities, and a lot of patients don't have a long life. I am very privileged to be a part of the lipodystrophy community, and I've known many and I've made few friends, and I've unfortunately lost these friends to the disease. And so it really has encompassed my whole life. And, more importantly, I did lose my mother to the disease. My mother was 32 when she passed away. And my sister, I lost her when she was 35. And so it really has consumed my life, since I can remember.
Well, thank you for sharing that. If it's okay with you, let's explore what life is like living with a rare disease today. So, how does your condition affect your daily life, both personally and professionally?
Man, where do I start? um, I don't think I've ever known what a normal life is. As I said, since childhood, I just remember being picked and prodded by doctors, and since then it's just been constant medical appointments, constant blood tests, follow-ups, and it's almost like running a part-time job, just to manage this rare disease. But more importantly, it's finding a network of providers that actually knows what you're talking about, which they often don't. I mean, this disease is so rare. It's usually handled by an endocrinologist who doesn't see this normally in practice. And so a lot of my struggle living with this day to day is literally just advocating for myself and actually teaching my doctors and my caregivers what the disease is and what I need, and all the new symptoms and all the new clinical signs, because they're just not used to the disease. And so I've spent most of my life being, they use the term gaslit, that I was, imagining symptoms, or I was making up how sick I was. And it took a very, very long time. I'm 40 now, and I think I've found a few good care providers that actually understand how to work with me with a rare disease, and you know all that comes with it. I mean, every morning I wake up, I've become a pro at like swallowing the biggest pills. Like, I can't afford to take one pill at a time, because every morning I have to shovel down about 24, 25 pills. Each day, I'm taking about 3 to 4 injections of insulin. I take another injection, and I'm currently also on a leptin trial, which just, causes, I have to inject every day, and I have to like put in logs every day. So when I say this is a part-time job, I really do say that. I probably underestimate how much time I dedicate to keeping myself just afloat so I can function. I don't think I'd be able to have a full-time job and be able to thrive if I didn't do all that back work that people don't see. So it's a huge impact on my daily life. And professionally, I try my best to do what I can in my career. My career is very important for me, and I make sure that I can be there for my career. And the same thing goes personally, but definitely it has affected me so much personally. One of, I think, the major issues with lipodystrophy, and why it comes into clinic, and why we seek medical care, is because the lack of fat is quite striking. And it's like, you're in high school, you're hitting puberty, all the girls are developing, and here you are, like, completely lacking fat. And talk about feeling, I mean, you already feel abnormal as a teen. That's just a normal thing. But, having this loss of fat being called anorexic, being told I had an eating disorder, and truly just looking different from the other girls. And I didn't know why. And so, the social implications of that, having romantic relationships, being able to, have a level of self confidence. I mean, I had very, very low confidence throughout my entire life. I've had major depression because of all of these different elements of the disease literally taking over my life. And so, yeah, it does impact me in every single way, Sam.
So, Sonia, can you share what are some common misconceptions people have about your disease, but broader speaking, rare diseases in general?
Specifically for my disease, I've always had a loss of fat on my body, and everyone comes up to me and they're like, what is your diet and is your secret to staying slim? And I constantly tell them, I'm like, you don't want this secret. This is actually a disease that does not allow me to gain weight. Also, because of the lack of fat, we tend to look muscular. So, like, I have a natural six pack. Again, people will come to me and be like, what's your exercise regimen? And I'm like, there is no exercise regimen. I'm actually just really, really, really sick. So I think these are, across the board, a lot of us patients with lipodystrophy experience these types of misconceptions. The other thing is that rare disease, at least in my life, it's received a lot of pity from the general public, like, oh, poor you, it must be so hard on you to deal with a rare disorder. And I feel like, first of all, that's not helpful at all. And it kind of resonates what you're saying, is that yes, I might be, let's say, very rare in my disease, but there's others like me. And as a community, I think we are very strong, and I think we're not often given credit where credit is due. That really the rare disease community has so much to teach, regular medicine and healthcare, for sure.
Okay. Could you share a particular challenge you faced because of your condition and how you overcame it?
My God, I can't even pick a particular challenge. I mean, I think one of the biggest struggle in my life has been, Sam, that I always wanted to be a researcher. I always wanted to, become that scientist that found the cure for lipodystrophy. We have our dreams, and then all my health problems hit. And time again, I was hospitalized. Time and time again, I was, about to drop out of my master's program, my PhD program, my postdoctoral fellowship because of health crises. I think that has been by far one of the biggest struggles. How I overcame it, to be very honest, was the support of my sister. My sister had lipodystrophy as well. As I previously mentioned, she passed away when she was 35. But she was my rock, and she held my hand and got me through hell and back to make sure I did whatever I needed to do and completed whatever I needed to do to get to my end goal. And one of her last, dying wishes was, make sure you finish that PhD of yours, Sonia. And I made sure I did that. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge I faced.
Why don't we move to the healthcare system? In your experience, um, what has your experience been like with the Canadian healthcare system regarding your condition?
Um, in general, I mean, I didn't have much of a comparison when I was a child. Um, when you're diagnosed with a rare disease, it often happens, in childhood, and the children's hospital was just amazing in trying to troubleshoot and diagnose us. So from their end, I think they did everything they could for both my sister and I to figure out what was going on. So to be honest, I didn't have much to compare. As I got older, I realized that my healthcare was lacking a lot, simply because my doctors didn't understand the severity of the disease. They didn't understand how intersectional it was with other medical specialties. And so it really took a long time before I had, as I said, a support network of specialists rather than just one specialist following me. And I've been lucky enough, while I was doing my fellowship in the US in New York, I really got to see the comparison of Canada compared to US in terms of rare diseases. And it really opened the world up to possibilities of clinical trials and experimental medications. And I felt like the US was a little bit more aggressive with, trying to get to treating these rare disorders. As Canada, I mean, nothing's wrong with Canada. I am proud to be Canadian, but definitely we like to stay safe and play within the box of what prescribed medicines we have available on the market.
You mentioned you take a plethora of medications. How accessible are they in Canada?
So for the most part, my disease is treated as a very severe form of, diabetes, severe form of cardiac issues. And so for all of those medications, I'm very lucky to have coverage through my employer to pay for those drugs. However, they're all suboptimal because they're not treating the underlying deficiency in my disease. And so when you talk about, when you talk about treating a disease, you can treat it either from the outside, like patch it up with Band-Aids, or you actually, try to treat it from the underlying deficit. And that underlying deficit is a lack in a lot of important lipid hormones such as leptin. And so leptin therapy has been approved in the US, it has been approved in the UK, and it makes a significant life-changing improvement in our lives. And I have not been able to access it in Canada. So that's been the most frustrating part of my treatment and management.
How do you navigate the challenges, if any, of finding the specialists you need and getting the right care for your rare disease?
It's a lot of advocacy, lots and lots of self-advocacy. It's kind of like making all those phone calls, making all those connections, trying my best to get every piece of information I can so I get the right care. I mean, there have been many times where I've met with doctors that are completely ignorant and lack the compassion I need. And those are really the biggest challenges, because here you are in a space where you're asking for help, and it's the person that's supposed to help you that can become quite toxic in your management. And so really it's just been a lot of calling. It's, it's almost like cold calling. You call people, you're like, okay, I need to get a referral for this. I need to get a referral for this. Can you please make this happen? Because I can't live like this. Things like that. You're constantly using your voice to advocate for yourself, or you will fall through the holes of the system. And like, I'm not one to judge the Canadian healthcare system, but there are cracks, and it is people like us that can easily fall in those cracks and get lost.
You touched on the support of your sister. How important has the support of your friends and family and other patients been in your journey?
They've been lifesavers. In essence, I don't have much family. I have a very small family, so most of my support system has been friends that I've made over the years, wherever I've been. I call them my guardian angels. They literally have carried me throughout my journey. They have literally, protected me and taken care of me, especially after I lost my sister. They really started to play a more dominant role in my life, and my friends did become my family.
Are there any support groups or organizations for people with your condition in Canada, and do you find them helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I guess the answer to the previous question is incomplete, because another support I received was finding people out there like me. And that was just going through like social media, mostly Facebook, and finding other people who were sharing their story, and finding other people like me, especially after losing my sister, was so important, because I felt alone in this whole world until I met those other patients. And so the support from them was invaluable. And so, as I said, it was initially a Facebook group, and, it's become a large group of people that support each other. We do not have any sort of formal support groups that are organized. And these are some things that I would like to get started in Canada for our patient population, because it really, support is so important, especially when you're going through all of these challenges.
Let's discuss advocacy and awareness. What do you wish more people knew about living with a rare disease?
I want people to know that it comes in all different shapes and sizes, and it can be totally invisible to the eye. I go to work every day. No, I look like everyone else, just a bit skinnier, and people have no idea what I'm dealing with. And living with a rare disease, because it so profoundly impacts everything in your life, I wish people were able to be more understanding about our diseases, and have more education regarding our diseases. I mean, people can only understand if they're taught, right? And so I feel like I wish there was more learning involved for people on how it is to live with all these rare diseases.
Have you been involved in any advocacy or public awareness campaigns for your condition, rare diseases in general? And can you share your experience?
Yeah, so I don't think I was ever interested in. I was doing so much advocacy for myself and my sister that I was kind of like, I'm up to my limit for advocacy. and my limit actually was I'd registered with the Canadian Organization for Rare Diseases. I'd been to a couple of their events, and I was amazed at all the work that was being done. But at the end of the day, I was like, I don't think I could do this. And then, um, you know, sister passes away. I become alone, and I realize that there is such an unmet need in Canada for advocacy for our disease. Like there's nothing. And it's literally no one else could put up their hand, so I put up my hand. And so I finally said, something has to be done. Something needs to be done. A Facebook page is not sufficient for people to find us. And so that's when kind of going from, living as a patient, I dived into patient advocacy for Canada, and I made the Lipodystrophy Canada Foundation organization, which is a federal not-for-profit organization for patient advocacy for patients with lipodystrophy.
Is there anything more you'd like to say about your organization?
It is very small right now. We are in our infancy. Literally, you are looking at the one and only member of that organization. And to say that I am overwhelmed is an understatement. I'm doing the best I can. I've applied for some grants. I've gotten some money. We've gotten a website, and people are finding us. It's amazing what a website can do. I'm getting flooded by people getting in touch with me and being like, I think I have this disease. Where do I go next? Or I thought I was the only one that was dealing with this. And it's so wonderful to hear from the community through this. And at the same time, I'm only one person, right? And I barely, can make my full-time hours at work. And then I'm like, oh my God, when do I do my advocacy work? So if there's anything I want to say is that I need all hands on board. I'm planning to post on our page for volunteers that can possibly help. Because we have so much we want to do for our community. It's not just a website. We want to build support groups. We want to build resources so that people can come to the website, find out who is near them that can help them on the medical side of things, to diagnose, to help manage their diseases. Like there's so much that needs to be done on the side of education and awareness and connecting people. So definitely that's one thing I want to convey to people, is that I am looking for help to help move this project forward.
That's great. Looking forward, is there one message you could share with others living with a rare disease, and if so, what would it be? What would it be?
I think there's a lot of negative aspects to living with a rare disease, and yet I will say one of the most positive things about living with a rare disease is we're living in an age where science is really, like, the research out there is so advanced. We are bringing together high caliber science to make all these possible therapeutics that can help in rare disease. I think we're living at the best time, most exciting time for these things to happen. I mean, just in my timeline, in a few decades, leptin was just a thought. And now it is injected into patients in the UK and the US. And this is absolutely exciting, and to only look forward to possibly more treatment options in the future for not only my disease, but any other of the rare disorders out there.
Where can listeners learn more about your condition or contribute to the cause?
So I would say the best place to hit us up would be going to our Facebook page. That is the most comprehensive. So Lipodystrophy Canada on Facebook, just searching it up. Our website as well. I can share that with you as well. And just getting in touch with us. Send out an email, just one connection, and we can go from there. Because I think the one message I want to get across, and it's not lipodystrophy specific. When you have a rare disease, the propensity to feel absolutely alone is very, very high. Like you just feel like the only person suffering with it. And it's so important to know that there are connections to be made and that you are not alone. That in the grand scheme of things, we are not alone, and there are people out there to support you.
Sonia, thank you for joining us on the Pharma Podcast and sharing your story. I hope this episode is a testament to the courage and determination of the rare disease community and serves as a call to action for greater awareness and support, especially during Rare Disease Month. Contact details for Sonia and her organization will be made available on our website at thepharmapodcast.com. Thank you for listening. The Pharma Podcast is available to listen to for free on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and on our website at thepharmapodcast.com. Sonia, thank you very much.